Welcome to Civil War Digital Digest. I'm Will. Today we've got a real treat for you and a treat for me. Sometimes I do programs for you guys, sometimes for me. This one's as much for me as for you. Today we're going to talk with the artist Jeff Trexler and find out a little bit about what makes him tick, both as a Civil War historian and as an artist. Before we do that, I want to say thanks to one group, the CWDD Coffee Grinders. They're our patrons on patreon.com. This group makes it so that we can do a lot to bring more programming for you. In fact, the live stream software that we're recording this on, because we're recording remote, is paid for by the little bit of money each of them gives every month, and they also vote quarterly on where we send a preservation donation to. If you haven't looked at it, I'd love to have you check it out and see if it's worth your time to get the extra benefits and sponsor us. Thanks. All right, with that done, let's dive into it. Jeff, I'm absolutely thrilled that you would join us today. I wish we could be together, but at least we can get it this way. Let's start off in history. How does the history bug bite a young Jeff Trexler, and where?
Well, first off, Will, thank you for having me. I really appreciate being here. I'm a big fan of your YouTube channel and your work. I actually learned a lot from watching Civil War Digital Digest, so I'm honored to be here. But yeah, where the history bug sort of kicked in, I can sort of pinpoint to 8th grade. The artwork has always been there, as an artist. As soon as we can hold a crayon or a pencil, we're drawing and scribbling all over. But yeah, I remember having an amazing history teacher, shout out Miss Funk, and she just made it exciting. We learned about the Revolution. We learned about the Civil War. And I remember she would take the class out and we would do these little water balloon battles behind the school. And she just made it fun like that. And at that point, I was sort of getting into it. And I remember trying to be the little general of our group and trying to lead some of our classmates to flank the flank the opposition and stuff. And it just turned into a big mess with kids throwing water balloons at each other. But we did some projects in that class, and I remember I originally saw Mort Kunstler's work, and it was one of his books where he had painted a lot of his scenes to mimic the movie Gettysburg. At the same time, my father had rented the movie Gettysburg on VHS, and I remember just watching it over and over again. There was just something about it, and he would tell me a little bit about the history he knew. And as we moved forward into high school, I started getting into reenacting again with my father. Got me and my brother involved with the Fort Texas, and from there it sort of took off. We had a huge show my senior year in high school, and for some reason I cannot remember why I did not get a space at this show. I don't know if it was just a miscommunication or if there was a project that I didn't finish, but so I was really bummed about this show, and my father had suggested we use the corner of the room, and I was like, I don't really know about using the corner, and he said we could make it really, really cool and really different. And what we did is we set up, an A-frame tent, and we set up. I don't know where he got this wagon, but he got a wagon and brought it in, and we had bales of hay, and we made it look like a camp scene. And the audience that came in for the show had to go inside the tent, and they could view the artwork inside. So it made it really, really neat and really stood out.
Well, let me ask you this, Jeff. What did you have in that first art show in high school inside that tent?
There were some portraits. There was a lot of portraits. We actually dressed up a student, and what we had at the time, it was a Union soldier, and it was a large scale portrait of him. And I remember my dad, he wants to kill me because he still has this painting to this day. But I did this huge painting of it was 2 Confederate soldiers. One was wounded and one was sort of dragging him off the field. But this painting had to be 5-6 feet long. So this painting hung on the outside of the tent. But transporting that was just a nightmare. But so there was a lot of stuff like that, a lot of little soldier studies and still life studies of bugles and whatever, weaponry, accoutrements, and stuff like that. So I had a couple pencil scenes that some of my friends still mention today. And it was, I did one at Burnside's Bridge, which I still have images of. Maybe I can send to you if I can find them. But yeah, it was a lot of little things like that were inside there.
Great. So you decide you're loving the art and the history together after
Right.
high school. How do you find training?
Well, training, I was studying other artists that were in this field, and I had a lot of interest doing this and pursuing it. Just didn't really know how to go about it at that point. I found out where Don Traiani, he was a big inspiration for me. Went to school, and I realized it was in my backyard. It was the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. And it was at the time, I know Don didn't really like the school at the time, but they were teaching more modern when he went. But it was a very high level school, and I was excited to get in there. I had some great teachers that were in there, and I really stuck to them. One actually remembered Don from his training there, which was really interesting. And I remember him coming into my studio and seeing images of soldiers, and he was like, "I remember a guy that used to paint just like you." And I was like, "Is his name happen to be Don?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah. How did you know that?" I was like, "Yeah, he's pretty successful right now doing this." But so I would take all the classes at the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts that would help benefit me in the angle of what I do now. So I would take plein air, I would go out and paint landscapes and anatomy classes and portrait, and they would bring in, I would do animal drawing. They were bringing horses into the studio and the big space, and we would just sketch horses for hours. So there was a lot of little things like that. And that school is very good at teaching you like the technical things.
So, all right, you're going to tell me that coming out of art school, Jeff Trexler is a full-time paid artist, is a full-time career.
No, Jeff did many, many different jobs. Still only does it part-time. I still have a full-time job. I would like to hopefully transition one day, but it's a lot of late hours into the night. A lot of studio time. I have to give my wife a lot of credit for helping watch our little guy while I'm plugging away in the studio. But yeah, that's the dream, to eventually take it full time. It's just a little scary to make that jump sometimes, but eventually might have to just jump. So.
Okay, well, let me ask, what is the day job today for you?
The day job, I've been with this company for about 16 years. I do graphic design, so I do a lot of print and marketing material for different organizations, a lot of direct mail things, ads, and different mailings that will go out to clients to help raise money. Sure.
So what is the road from college through the job? How are you working right now if somebody's interested in having you do a painting?
Yeah, I mean, it slowly started with the reenactors and doing things for friends. That's the way most artists will start doing commissions and things like that. Once social media hit, it took it up to another level. Then you're doing, work for clients all over the country, all over the world. I have works in Germany and Spain. I've done work for vice presidents. So social media has certainly helped out a lot with that. But the process is, if someone calls me for a commission, a lot of times it will depend if I think it's right for me, first of all, if it's something I'm really interested in doing. Because to do this kind of work, you really have to love it. And I want that to show in my work, how much I, respect these men and women who went through this stuff. And I really want to put that into my work. So it has to be a commission that really hits home for me. But when I do decide to work on a commission, the research can be done in multiple ways. It's a lot of diving into books, or it's reaching out to people who are much smarter than I am and know a lot more than I do. I'm never afraid to ask questions. Sometimes the clients will have a lot of information that can certainly help me and speed up the process. Sometimes the organizations, they also have some historians that will help out. You were there when we actually shot for the 11th Mississippi scene, and something like that, some alumni from Ole Miss had messaged me, and they know so much research on this unit, and they were very willing to help out and get excited about it. I reached out to my favorite Gettysburg guide out there, Matt Atkinson, who was always willing to talk about the Mississippi boys. So he's willing to help, and he helped with certain questions that I had on the topography and certain very specific things like what kind of crops would be there and all types of stuff like that we have to dive into to try to get it correct as we possibly can. So a lot of times the research can take longer than the actual painting. For some of the soldier studies like you have behind you, the research goes a little bit quicker. When it's a large-scale scene, it can certainly take a long time.
Well, let me use this picture and the pictures behind you to ask about that. Fortunately, you and I met through social media, so I'm thankful for the social media, and I've commissioned 3 pieces, one on behalf of an organization that was a gift for a retiring leader, and 2 that hang here in my office at home on rotation. What's the time difference? I see a 3 shot of 3 men with a full painting behind you over your other shoulder there, and I see the simple man with a little bit of grass over my shoulder here. Once you're finally ready to go, what's it take?
Again, every project is different. The Louisiana Tiger piece that I'm working on back there, which I still need to get done for my show, We're testing out some frames on that right now. That something like that will go a lot quicker. Maybe a couple months of research that I dive in. I know a lot of guys that reenact with the Louisiana Tigers, so it can certainly speed things up. You were very helpful with a lot of stuff with the musicians and things like that, so that sped that process up. But I've had battle scenes that can take, months and months of research, and we still can't figure everything out. I've had paintings that can take 4 months. I've had paintings that can take over a year. So it really just depends on how large the scene is, how much we know about these men and this time and this particular battle. So again, it varies greatly.
Great. Well, let's talk about range in time periods. We've talked, how many eras do you go ahead and do paintings for, or where are you working in as far as time eras go?
Sure. Yeah, I'm certainly branching out right now. I've gotten a huge love of World War One. I've been watching a lot of documentaries on them. Love the Revolution. I've been doing a lot about the Revolution and Civil War, of course. And I've also done some stuff with World War II. So that's pretty much the time spans that I'm working with right now. I'm always willing, if I can get the research and figure out certain things, I'm always willing to do other time periods. It's just that I don't have as much knowledge in certain things, so it takes more time and more research. But the World War One stuff just started a few months ago. I just happened to watch a few documentaries, and the piece behind me here, I don't know if you can see it too well. It's the Harlem Hellfighters. So I was really inspired by their story, what they had to go through, how hard of a fighting unit they were. They were the longest on the line out there, and some of the things they had to deal with when they came back home. And I just felt it very inspiring. And that's sort of what has to happen. I have to get touched by a story. It's all about the story. And I want to try to communicate that through my work and have the viewer feel that in my pieces. So their story certainly inspired me to do that.
So, Jeff, you and I have talked about this for a little while in doing this program. And of course, we've collaborated together on creating some art. And I hope we collaborate together on some stuff on the motion picture side down the road. But right now, we've got a story to tell for you. Tell me what's coming up in your career.
Yes, well, the first thing that's coming up is I have a huge art show July 21st at Beaumont at Bryn Mawr. It's in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. I plan on having over 20 original works there, both oil and gouache. This is my first solo show. I've done other shows with other artists where it's a little less nerve-wracking. But this, I'm sort of putting on everything. We're going to have the Susquehanna Travelers are going to be there. They're going to be playing throughout the show. They played at my wedding, and they're absolutely fantastic. My wife is going to be making all kinds of food. We're going to have, wine and just hopefully it'll be a great time for everyone to come out. We're going to have a couple guys in kit that can help teach people. If people are interested and they can't talk to me all of a sudden, or if I'm talking to somebody else, these guys can help out. So I'm excited. Hopefully you guys could be there. It's July 21st from 4 to 6 p.m. and I hope to see you there.
Great. And that's in Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania. We'll continue not only this episode on our YouTube platform, but also through our social media. We'll continue to help Jeff put the word out and keep people going. So you said gouache, you said oil. Let's talk about mediums a little bit. What do you work in, and how do you make a decision which one to use?
Sure. It originally started with pencil. I did a lot of pencil work. I had very good control of pencil coming from art school, and I was very comfortable with it. As I moved through the pencil, I started to get into watercolor and gouache a little bit and experiment with that. I've always done oils going through college, so I'm comfortable with oil paintings, and a lot of the battle scenes will be done in oil. You can get a lot more depth with oil painting. You can get, just more realistic with the scenes themselves. A lot of the soldier studies, I'll work in gouache. It's a lot quicker medium. It drives a lot faster. But it's like an opaque watercolor, so you can go over mistakes and things like that. And I really enjoy the effect of both of them.
Fantastic. Well, here's sort of a surprise question for you, but it's as you combine the art, you combine the history and the passion. Is there one piece that you've done that stands out for you?
There's so many that I really enjoy. The one at Newbridge Landing I did a few years back for that site up there was really, really special. To have it out on a marker out there on the actual site, and I got to go there and we talked about it and I got to unveil it. So that was a really important day for me, and my family got to come with me. So that was exciting, and I feel like that's one of my better works as well. So, as an artist, we're always criticizing our own work, and we're always trying to push for more. And I think it's the artist's curse, but it keeps us going forward. But that's definitely one of my most important pieces. And to have it be on the actual spot where, it took place is something I've been dreaming about since I was 12 and 13, and sketching on the floor here. This used to be my grandmother's home that we purchased when she passed away. And I keep a photo of me, not on these easels, but and it's just me upstairs here on the shag rug, just sketching out little soldiers. And I just keep it as a reminder of, why you do it. And, when it gets to be too much with the contracts and the commissions and stuff, I just look to that just to remind myself, you love it. And this is just push through. You're doing it for your kids. You're doing it for the love of it. So.
Fantastic. We're so blessed and thrilled that you love it, Jeff. Thank you very much. Before we wrap out, is there anything you'd like to share as a last thought?
No, I really appreciate being on here. I hope when people view my work, they enjoy it. I really strive to get a strong feeling in my paintings. That's one of the most important things I feel that can be in artwork. I feel like it's communication between the viewer and, the artist itself, the way a movie is or a fine piece of music. I sort of equate it in that same vein. But if the details and stuff are important, but I really strive to push for that. When you stand in front of it, I want you to feel something, whether it's, and I'm not trying to tell you how to feel. It could be excitement. It could be sadness. It could be anger. I've experienced some of that. But I feel like if I'm doing that, I'm heading in the right direction. So I appreciate everyone who enjoys my work, and I appreciate being on here. Well, thank you.
Yeah, well, we're really glad to have you, and thank you so much for being with us. Well, thank you for spending your time with Civil War Digital Digest. You see that when I'm in my office, I have a Trexler with me every day. You can commission, you can buy prints and not commission, but still have some of his work. I hope you go see his work if you're in the Bryn Mawr, Pennsylvania area on July 21st. We'll keep sharing out about it. For now, this is just another way to find a good connection to Civil War history. It's what we're all about at Civil War Digital Digest, and hope you take this chance. We'll see you next time.